Kintoki is the only human who can defeat the supreme god of the Norse pantheon, Odin. He is the one and only human with the blood of the primordial gods in his veins. He inherited the will of Golnir. He's best friends with the goat Buddha. No matter what, he's going to win Ragnarok round 12 and save humanity from their extinction against the main villain and potentially strongest god in Ragnarok, wielding support from all of humanity, including the will of Adam and Tesla. Kintoki is the most beloved man in human history, and he is here to kill Odin. However, we have one big issue. A majority of Ragnarok fans believe Kintoki does not stand a chance against Odin, meaning there's no absolute way he's going to win Ragnarok round 12. And there's many reasons for this. The first one, and potentially most important, if Odin loses, the main villain of Ragnarok is gone, and technically speaking, the Ragnarok tournament should be over as well. Right now, humanity is in the lead and one win away from victory, so if Kintoki defeated Odin, humanity is saved, the Ragnarok tournament is over, and the remaining fighters on both sides don't really get a chance to face each other in the tournament, meaning Topida vs Rasputin doesn't fight after all these years, the only Egyptian god participating in the main tournament doesn't fight, Nostradamus, who's had all this build up, doesn't fight. I'm guessing Siegfried is just saved and that storyline with Brynhilde concludes right there. It's quite anticlimactic. Coming back to the Odin point, if he is seemingly defeated, I could imagine him surviving through some other wild method. That is always a possibility. But the issues this causes for his overall plan, how he needs to destroy humanity to get the water of life so he can pretty much resurrect the other primordial gods, mostly the Yggdrasil, that being Satan, Chaos and Ymir, so they can continue their original plan of pretty much killing everyone and destroying everything. But even with all of this said, how it isn't looking good for Kintoki, the insanity that has been provided for him so far needs to be broken down and absolutely respected, with it being very possible at this point that Kintoki will end up being the strongest fighter in Ragnarok or on humanity's side, surpassing even the likes of Adam. So let's break down what has been revealed about this mad lad so far, someone who, yes, is the final Japanese fighter participating in this tournament as well. So perhaps there's other bias and factors to consider for him, but lock in, subscribe here on Mysterious Weeb for more Ragnarok content, and I hope you enjoy. So he first appears in chapter 65, right after round 7 Huang vs Hades concluded, meaning we'll be seeing him in the anime during season 3 in December, with the scene featuring the injured Buddha chilling underneath his tree, where Kintoki pulls up on him, showing concern for the Enlightened One's injuries and providing some goods, the almighty candy rocks. Then Buddha says to Kintoki, "I've got a favor to ask you," in which both of them smile at one another, where Kintoki says, "I ain't got no reason to turn down a request from you, man," and this is what Buddha wants from him. "There's a guy I want you to look into, the man who will shake up Ragnarok, the dragon-slaying hero Siegfried," with him also making his first ever appearance later during Ragnarok Season 3, so I do wonder if this is going to be his official colour scheme as highlighted on some official art pieces. But coming back to Kintoki, he successfully finds out that Siegfried is being held in Tartarus by the direct order of Odin himself, and officially makes his return to the story in chapter 88 during the group fight between Odin, Buddha and Beelzebub. This is right after Thor began breaking up the battle, where Kintoki also arrives. We get this goated spread, and more importantly, Odin directly looking at Kintoki menacingly, something we now know was pretty much foreshadowing for their round 12 fight later on. But Buddha tells Kintoki that Odin probably hates him because Buddha revealed that he had been poking around Tartarus, with Kintoki claiming after going all that way, the demon guard still said nah, no direct contact with the prisoners, no exceptions, meaning he hasn't spoken to Siegfried thus far. And similar to his other moments since his reveal, Kintoki pretty much disappears and does nothing on screen until he's officially chosen as humanity's fighter for round 12 after Odin directly confronted Brunhilde. With the Valkyrie revealing that she's been waiting for this, it's finally here, I'm leaving it all to you. I decided it would be you since the beginning, meaning the only reason Kintoki was put on humanity's roster to defeat the gods was to face and defeat Odin, the only one capable of doing so. Next level build up and hype. Then we cut to Kintoki's room alongside his battle axe being depicted as well, alongside Kintoki's regular mythology depiction chilling on the wall here, which was a cool touch. We see Buddha pull up saying it's been decided, Odin's fighting for the gods in round 12, highlighting that Buddha may have been aware for quite some time that Kintoki has been saved for Odin, and also tells him to make sure he come back after, because we still don't have a winner for our 100th bout, highlighting that these two have been doing various sparring matches and confirm that their 100th clash is going to be with Sumo, meaning Kintoki on the same level as Buddha, at least based on the relationship they seem to have with one another. But I'm not gonna lie, there are, you could say, death flags with this whole interaction. But Kintoki says, Odin, I'm going to kill him because me and him each have the same end game. This is the more accurate translation compared to previous versions, and at the current point still has question marks around its true meaning, so drop your thoughts on that down in the comments of course. Now we have his official walkout. Something that begins with him chatting with Buddha and reconfirming that he's going to defeat Odin, then interaction with various humans that we've seen in the previous round spectating, whether it be the Tesla fight, Lubu fight, Leonidas fight, etc. All of them showing support, and of course Adam himself, the absolute legend. A scene that does without a doubt give final fight vibes, something you would expect at the very end of the series, not one where there should technically be another round. However, maybe this is just demonstrating their absolute faith in Kintoki defeating Odin. But he walks out to the arena where we get the original lore explained about him. This includes when he was a child, how as a toddler he wrestled bears. When he was a young man he slayed the Demon King, wielding extraordinary superhuman strength and always wielding his battle axe, becoming the greatest demon slayer of his period. And now it's time for him to become a god slayer, having strength that even makes the heavens quake, unparalleled, unmatched. He is representing humanity in round 12. This is Sakata Kintoki from Japan, which, by the way, based on the recent vote in Japan for their character popularity poll, Kintoki actually got third in the entire series, and that was before all these recent chapters and the reveals that he's fighting in round 12. Meaning when it comes to the Japanese audience, they are absolute hype for him, potentially the most out of any fighter. So some author bias going into it is always a possibility, but not absolute considering we've seen Japanese fighters and the only Japanese god fighting in the tournament at least technically lose as well. So don't take that as an absolute. But this is his Valkyrie, the 12th sister, the final one we were waiting to be revealed in the series. With her volume ability being described as the following: the only one capable of drawing out his strength to its utmost limits, the 12th Valkyrie's power that dwells within her ruin is Axe Time, which seems to be just an overall enhancement on the base version of Kintoki's iconic axe. We haven't been told whether it's a divine weapon in its regular state, however with the power of the Valkyrie, that's what they pretty much become as shown in every other round. With Brunhilde also pointing out when talking to Zeus, Kintoki was picked as my anti-Lord Odin fighter, meaning he's without a doubt going to have some type of direct counter, with Brunhilde's strategy being a major factor in this fight, or Kintoki's unique power we're going to be seeing soon. But after this introduction, all of humanity watching the current fight begins to feel that for the first time in their 7 billion years of history, they believe they were witnessing the day that they would surpass the will of the gods, something that has technically occurred multiple times throughout this tournament, but still a pretty good touch for Kintoki, at least before everyone is pretty much aura-negged by Odin with his insane introduction, all the titles he wields, and then outright entering his transformation right away, stealing all of the shine from humanity's fighter. However, Kintoki manages to gain it back and quite quickly. We have Odin talking some shit, wondering who his opponent would be, and I guess being shocked that it's Buddha's simple errand boy from back then, but also notes that Brunhilde is quite cheeky, meaning there's got to be a reason Kintoki was chosen to face Odin, particularly with her confidence demonstrated during their prior interaction. So Odin wants Kintoki to reveal his so-called strength, where humanity's fighter says this: "Supreme God of the Norse pantheon Ha, you really have the most overblown nickname. I already know, I know your despair," reveals this symbol on his arm beginning to light up, claiming that he also inherited the will of Golnir, something that results in Odin freaking out, and then says this: "If you resurrect the primordial gods, I don't know what you're planning on doing, but every drop of blood in my veins is telling me that I have to stop ya. So for now, remember the line, every drop of blood in my veins is telling him," as this connects to what's revealed shortly. But we see Kintoki unleashing more of his power and going for the first attack of the fight, something that has those spectating consider him divine, looking like a god with this insane aura, with his axe beginning to light up, called the Golden Lightning Axe, and then swinging, something that is unsuccessful as Odin managed to block it with his divine weapon with honestly no difficulty at all. This was a named attack called Furious Flash, and then Odin countered with some insane magic that sent Kintoki flying, smashing into the wall, doing a little bit of damage but nothing too major, where we see the likes of Zeus absolutely freaking out. This is due to Kintoki just using divine power in that previous scene with his axe, alongside that mark on his hand being the ruin of the primordial gods, where Brunhilde reveals this: "Kintoki is undeniably a human, however he is the one and only human with the blood of the primordial gods in his veins. So technically this doesn't mean he's a demigod, as typically speaking a demigod requires one of the parents to be a god and the other one a human. However, it is kinda all over the place when it comes to definitions, so I wouldn't be surprised when it comes to Ragnarok if this counts some way. However, since we first saw his design, a lot of people were going with the theory that Kintoki isn't exactly a full human, with it being confirmed that he somehow has primordial god blood in his veins. And then during his next conversation with Odin, where he praises the supreme god's strength, he reveals something that pretty much no other god is aware of, that Odin was once the nameless god we saw in his flashback, and there was a tragedy of the Golnir people with one sole survivor, which is looking like it was Odin himself, which connects to the flashback we're now getting, where we have the introduction of the primordial god Golnir, the great inventor god, alongside this primordial goddess. Mysterious characters at the current minute, but we're going to see how Kintoki and Odin's lore kinda interact, alongside exactly why this human has been chosen to defeat Odin and how he's exactly an anti-Odin fighter, as Brynhilde claimed. Very interesting stuff, and clearly highlights that Kintoki is without a doubt going to be a monster. Yes, he was overpowered by Odin's magic attack with really no difficulty at all, but it's not like he faced any damage or is fearful in any way of facing Odin in this battle, wielding absolute confidence in every scene that he'll be capable of slaying this supreme god and being recognized as a god slayer, saving humanity, having all the pressure on his back but still locking in no matter what, highlighting that still anything can happen in the Ragnarok series. Yes, most people are betting against Kintoki. I am as well. I do believe Odin is going to win this fight for various reasons I spoke of earlier. However, I wouldn't say it's absolute by any means. We could have the biggest twist of the entire series occurring right here in Ragnarok round 12. But before leaving the channel, make sure to watch this video right here breaking down absolutely everything you need to know about our boy Odin.